Hello, welcome to On Point, Royal Ascot edition. I'm James Scully, joined by Vance Hanson. And Vance, before we get into Royal Ascot, want to look back on last weekend's Downs After Dark Stephen Foster Night program featuring Gunrunner, who's pretty much solidified his status as the second leading older horse in training after Arrogate. Got a 107 speed rating for a big win. Also saw Forever Unbridled come back and win her first start of the year. Had run third to Beholder and Songbird in the Breeders' Cup Distaff at her previous start. And it's obviously a top distaffer on the East Coast, having won the Apple Blossom and Belle Dame last year. And McCracken, he rebounded from two consecutive setbacks, a troubled eighth in the Kentucky Derby with a nice win in the Matt Wynn. Any thoughts on those races at Churchill?
Well, once again, Gunrunner got a very favorable trip in the Stephen Foster, just like in the Clark last November. Nobody ran with him when, some of us expected, Bird Song. Thank you. I always get him confused with his damn Bird Town, but Bird Song didn't go with him. Stanford didn't show as much pace as I thought, and it just pretty much left Gunrunner to his own devices, and he overpowered them. And it's not too big of a surprise that he won in that kind of fashion anyway, but still he didn't. He basically had a very perfect trip in the Stephen Foster. We'll see if things change at Saratoga. Forever Unbridled, very impressive in the Fleur-de-Lis, coming off that long of a layoff, going 1 1/8 miles. A superb effort on her part. She's going to Saratoga and probably will bypass Songbird until the Breeders' Cup Distaff at Del Mar, which is not a bad idea, but it would be kind of cool to see those two hook up before then, but we'll have to wait on that. McCracken in the Matt Wynn, I thought was kind of a workmanlike performance, not flashy. He didn't have to be 100% cranked to beat that particular field. He moves on to the Haskell now, and he'll tell us more about where he is in the 3-year-old pecking order there.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with the definitely with Gunrunner. He'll be the horse to beat in the Whitney, as well as Forever Unbridled. She's going to probably be the big favorite, whatever grade 1 she's in next, Saratoga. McCracken, I don't know if he'll go to Haskell for sure. I think the Jim Dandy is probably a better option for him, but he was one of two 3-year-old winners over the weekend. Timeline won the Pegasus pretty easily at Monmouth Park. I thought both races were similar in that had huge favorites that weren't beating much, and both 3-year-olds are looking to step up going forward. I give Timeline a little bit of a bigger edge because he's more lightly raced. He has bigger speed ratings. McCracken, like you said, was a little workmanlike. Only got a 97 speed rating. He's never earned a 100 number. So it does look like those races, though, are shaping up. The Haskell looks like it's going to get Taprit, Classic Empire, and Irish War Cry. Jim Dandy is going to have Cloud Computing, Preakness winner, and the Kentucky Derby winner, Always Dreaming, among others. So, be interesting to see. Really looking forward to those races. Turning our attention to Royal Ascot. Obviously, the big star of day one was Lady Aurelia. Really came on for the U.S. Scat Daddy filly, and we had Highland Reel. Sorry, Breeders' Cup Turf winner. Highland Reel won Prince of Wales on day two today. We got 3 days ahead. I'll just start with quick what your thoughts are on these races. Wednesday's race, Ascot Gold Cup, Order of St. George, the big favorite in that.
Yeah, he didn't seem to be coming into this particular edition as strongly as he did last year, although he is the odds-on favorite again. I went pretty in-depth into the Gold Cup field for the Brisnet.com selections and just couldn't pick against him when push came to shove. I think he's going to assert himself again. I mean, he had a lot of excuses late last year when he went on a 4-race losing streak, but he did run third in the Arc de Triomphe, which is a pretty impressive when you think about the fact that he's a stayer, and then he dropped back to 1.5 miles, and he did run third behind Found and Highland Reel, so that was a pretty good performance. Back to his best effort last time in a prep in Ireland, and he should do well.
Yeah, he's Aidan O'Brien, Galileo, like you mentioned. He's, he won the race last year. Thursday's races, we have another Aidan O'Brien's well represented in both events. Group 1 Commonwealth Cup has a Caravaggio.
These are Friday, by the way.
Oh, Friday. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, Friday. Caravaggio is a Scat Daddy, like Lady Aurelia. Yes. He's 5 for 5. He's going to be the big favorite. The other big race is Coronation Cup winner, a Galileo filly for Aidan O'Brien's the horse to beat in that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Caravaggio is undefeated and he won the Coventry Stakes at Royal Ascot last year, and I just got done looking at that race, and it's a field of 12, but only about 4 have a legitimate chance to win. Caravaggio is going to be even money odds on thereabouts, and he looks going to be very difficult to beat in that particular spot. In the Coronation Stakes, the Aidan O'Brien has Winter, the Dual Guineas winning filly in that race. I'm going to try and beat her with the French Guineas winner, Précieuse, I think is the correct pronunciation of that filly's name. It's only a field of 7 winners, pretty much scared everybody off, but I think Précieuse, just based on how she looked winning at Deauville, has a puncher's chance to upset the favorite.
Have you looked at Saturday's program yet?
I have not.
That race there's obviously the Hardwicke is a mile and a half. It's a Group 2, but the Group 1 is the Diamond Jubilee. It has Lamato, one of Europe's best sprinters, but long on value for Bill Mott is shipping over there, so we'll see if he can be a significant factor.
Yeah, long on value isn't quite the class of, say, an undrafted who went over there a few years ago for Wesley Ward and actually won the Diamond Jubilee. He's going to appreciate, I think, the 6 furlongs over that particular track, which is a little more demanding. Long on value seems to be a horse that probably fits best at 5.5, 6 furlongs, maybe 6.5. So, I haven't had a chance to look at, obviously the full field hasn't been finalized yet, but he stands an okay chance of maybe getting the frame, possibly. We'll find out.
All right, and I'll mention real quick a couple other races. Ohio Derby is on Saturday at Jack Thistledown. 3 Derby alumni in that race: IRAP, Untrapped, and Gervin, Louisiana Twin Spires Louisiana Derby winner, who I think performed better than a lot of people thought he would, being middle of the pack in the Kentucky Derby. Good to see he's coming back.
Yeah, especially with all the foot issues and all the controversy in the week and a half leading up to the Derby about that. Hopefully his foot is 100% and he'll give a more representative performance at a mile and 1/8 up in Cleveland.
Yeah, really good a matchup. I think Gervin versus IRAP. And Churchill Downs has the Chicago Handicap's been moved there from Arlington. Finley's Lucky Charm, who's really come on with 2 big wins at the track. Her only loss, I think, in her last 7 starts was a close second to La Brea. Really coming on for Calhoun. Could be a serious filly mare sprint hopeful.
Yeah, definitely one of the top 5 in her division this year, and she'll get a little more battle tested presumably when she goes to possibly Saratoga this summer. But presumably she won't have too difficult a barrier to win the Chicago Handicap this week.
All right, well, check out Vance and Kelly Rowley's coverage of Royal Ascot on the Twin Spires blog and on brisnet.com, and we'll be back next week for another edition of On Point.